Hey everybody, this is hey everybody. This is SilverSpook, and this is the SilverSpook live stream about the ocean of Techbro Tears, and their tears that they are crying because Deepseek, a new AI, has beaten Meta GenAI ChatGPT, Grok, uh, OpenAI, many of these other AIs, and they did it at in 2 months with $5.5 million. Um, where these other AIs have billions and billions and billions of dollars invested into them, and they have not been able to produce anything close yet, despite billions of dollars and years and years. They're just basically wasting mountains of chips, water, and electricity on all these platforms for nothing. And so I wanted to kind of talk about this topic today because it's really blown up. It looks like it's really blowing up in the last few days or so. Um, so trying to get this off of the screen there. Um, make sure my stream is functioning. Um, yeah, my stream was having a little bit of problems before I even started. Probably because Meta and Grok and all these Western corporations, AIs, and their software is breaking. Probably because they're crying too many tears onto their software. Twitter was giving me headaches earlier, and it was yeah. So I'm gonna chalk that all up to um, everybody completely dropping the ball on managing their code and managing their platforms at all of these sites, all these huge big techs. Anyway, let's get into this though. So that's why I'm a little bit late as well. It seems to be working. I can get on Twitter and it seems to be okay. Um, so uh, yeah, this is one random post of mine that somehow has blown up. So I don't know if you can read that. Thank you, Chinese Deepseek devs, for approving Gen. The other thing is it's also a Chinese entity. Thank you, Chinese Deepseek devs, for approving Gen AI. I'm referring there specifically to Meta's Gen AI. We'll get more into because I've made a lot of videos about the problems with generative AI. Um, we'll get more into that later. But thank you for proving Gen AI is a giant scam inflated by capitalists and is actually worth less than $5.5 million. This is from an actual Meta in-house. This is like a Meta workers. This is Facebook, Instagram, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta company workers speaking to each other, basically. It started with DeepSeek. So it says artificial intelligence yesterday, Meta GenAI org in panic mode. It started with DeepSeek version 3, which rendered the Llama 4 already behind in benchmarks. Adding insult to injury was the unknown Chinese company with 5.5 million training budget. Engineers are moving frantically to dissect DeepSeek and copy anything and everything we can from it. I'm not even exaggerating. Management is worried about justifying the massive cost of Gen AI org. How would they face the leadership when every single leader of Gen AI org is making more than what it costs to train DeepSeek version 3 entirely? And we have dozens of such quote unquote leaders. DeepSeek R1 made things even scarier. I can't reveal confidential info, but it'll be soon public anyway. It should have been an engineering focused small org, but since a bunch of people wanted to join the impact grab and artificially inflate hiring in the org, everyone loses. So this is actually giving away the entire game, and I've said this for a long time, right? Which is that like stochastic parrots or what do you call it? Spicy autocomplete, right? Or basically large language model, um, uh, large language model, and like next door guessers, pattern, basically pattern mimickers, which is or a lot of these use like neural net um, architectures, right? These kinds of machines, they're actually, I mean, the concept has been around for a long time. You know, Google's autocomplete, right? That's been in existence for decades. When you type into your phone, right? That's that what these machines that are called quote unquote artificial intelligence, what they're doing is basically they're basically doing that. It's the longest. This is a huge field to get into, and it's very poorly understood. But I have other videos, obviously, about this that you can look at if you would like to on my lives. I've talked about this a lot. And there's many other places to look to. There's Timnit Gabaru's discussions of this. Those are some of the most clear-eyed views of this gargantuan monstrosity. Let's see if I have one of my AI videos in here. Yeah, I make so many videos. One of the ones I made was on degenerative AI. Degenerative AI and cyber biohazards. I apologize for the. This is an AI generated scientific paper that was published. It was an AI generated white paper, and with images, AI generated images, that was published in one of the top 3 peer reviewed science journals, right? And so this is like illustrating the problems with generated. This is actually an image generator, but it's a similar problem. There's a lot more to say about it, but basically, so like the architecture of the current of these AI platforms. Now they're using NVIDIA GPUs. This is what everybody's talking about, controlling these chips. One of the aspects of this Deepseek event is that one of the reasons why this small team of Chinese developers that were actually originally they're actually doing what I was going to do at one point. I was studying to be I have a computer science degree, and I was going to move more into the field of artificial intelligence, cognitive computing. This is over a decade ago. This is like in 2008. So this is like a new burgeoning field at the time. Artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, quant sort of industry, which is sorting through vast amounts of data, finding patterns, and in this case, one of the possible career paths I might have taken is high frequency trading algorithm programmer for some bank like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, or nowadays at BlackRock. Obviously, and I looked into that and I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Just like mass fraud and mass wealth stealing for the richest people in the world, the Elon Musk types, using computers and using software and code, right? So it's not good. And actually, one of the key Deepseek developers, I think the lead Deepseek developer, or several of them, they were actually they were doing the job that I was studying to do, or investigating doing, right? Which is they were they crushed AI with open MIT licensed model. Developers are losing it. They were quants, right? So they were working on stocks, right? Financial market software to maximize return for hedge funds and big financial entities, right? And then, but because of the crackdown in China on, the Chinese collectively through their government decided there's too much focus on and too many people going into the Chinese equivalent of Wall Street, right? Investing and making money maximizing return on investments in stock portfolios. A lot of this is not helping us very much, and that's the difference between the U.S. and China that a lot of people are discovering through Xiao Hongsu, Little Red Book, Red Note, etc. What is a capitalist country versus a socialism with Chinese characteristics, which is to say that there are markets and there is investment and there's business and money is exchanged and there's a vibrant market economy, but it's subordinated under communist party that leads the country and enforces rules and reigns in, like, for example, houses are for living and not for making money, tanked the overheated and too expensive housing market so that people could afford to rent and buy houses. And most people in China, 90%, own their own home, and most of them without loans. But that's because of the way that the system functions. But actually, the Deepseek event is directly related to that, because China's system, because of China's system, they said we need less quants, we need less people programming, right? We need less people programming software to make money for people who already have a lot of money. Like, that's actually not produced. That's actually exacerbating inequality more than it's actually helping all of the people, right? Because what matters is the livelihoods, quality of life, obviously environment, but how are people's lives, right? Are people getting better off, or are they getting worse off? Is it unbalanced? Is inequality increasing? How is the environment, right? How is the pollution? Because if you're spending a lot of compute power, right, and chips, and using a lot of electricity, you need water, right, to cool down these vast computer architectures, right? That the waste water. So, are you using these resources to do this? Whether that's quant, hedge fund investment, software work to do generative AI, is it doing anything useful? Are you wasting your resources? That's going to hurt the environment. It's going to make inequality worse. Are you generating wealth for all people, or are you just generating? Are you parasitically taking wealth using technology to give it to the rich? Because we don't need that in China. That's basic. And so the lead developer was left a let me see if I can find that. I think he worked for a hedge fund. Maybe I bookmarked it. Let me just double check that. I think I bookmarked it. Is my stream working, by the way? Yeah. Okay. Let me try to not get distracted. Oh, here, I want to stop here though. Closed AI is, Open AI, led by Sam Altman and this U.S. Western billionaire scam artist run AIs like Open AI is closed AI, and Deepseek is real Open AI. It actually is open source. They made it free to use. And all the code, everything is open. Actually, Sam Altman, Open AI actually was a bit more open, and then they closed it off and it made it into a capitalist, imperial, oligarchic, U.S. plutocracy, neo-feudalism manufacturing scheme is basically what it's anyway. Okay, let's find it. Okay, that's not it. Deepseek is not faking the cost of the run. It's pretty much in line with what you'd expect given the data structure, active parameters, and other elements of other models trained by other people. You can run it independently at the same costs. It's a good lab working hard. The West is trying to deal with this by saying Deepseek is a CCP, state, psyop, economic warfare. They cannot handle this because it does make the entire U.S. and the collective West, the imperial capitalist world, look like a total clown show, which it is. So that's why I love this Deepseek story, because it reveals stuff that I talk about a lot, and there's like so much inefficiency, right? It's just a giant, right, credit stealing, get rich quick scheme. It's so overhyped, right? It's over invested. It's like I said, it was like if you look at all my streams, right, I was talking about generative AI is the next crypto, Bitcoin, it's the next NFT, scam, based upon taking all science fiction's history of artificial intelligence and using Wally and using Wally and Skynet and Terminator and Battlestar Galactica, all my favorite stuff. I'm a science fiction writer. Right? I love that stuff, right? Androids, AI, synthetic minds, right? Her, starring Hawking Phoenix, right? What if we had super intelligence and then it's either an existential threat or it's a salvation, right? But either one is a distraction to get people to throw more money and invest time and energy and take all this school and work, right? I talk about this a lot, so I won't over elaborate. But the Deepseek story reveals, right? Deepseek reveals it's like a light shining on the Wizard of Oz. Deepseek is a it is a light. It is exposing, right, the vast absence of value, right? Because they spent billions and billions and billions of dollars to get the chips to train these AIs over the last year, and in 2 months with a tiny team. It was actually, they said it was a side project. Deepseek, with $5.5 million, they were able to make something that was vastly outperforming all of the Zuckerberg, all the biggest, best Western US AIs, just blowing them all out of the water, right? With a small team that actually just did engineering. It's what Elon represents, right? Which is having lots of money and throwing money at things somehow makes them better, right? Like Elon is just good because he has more money. If you just put more money at the thing, if you just buy more chips, or you have more processes, if you have more weapons, even for the military industrial complex, right? But that doesn't make you a better effective fighting force, right? In the same way that it takes millions of dollars of US drone, badly made, can get shot down by a $2,000 Yemen efficiently made low cost a low cost Yemen drone it needs to be shot down by like a multi-million-dollar US munition, and they're like all overpriced, right? So if you throw money, and if you just have more of a thing, and if your system is led by the richest people who call themselves geniuses but who aren't actually, right? It's a kakistocracy of the worst and the least qualified, because they have hereditary, dynastic, capitalist, colonial, and often white male privilege, like Elon Musk himself and all of his friends, Sam Altman, Mark Zuckerberg, right? These people are not geniuses, right? But they have spent a lot of money having people work to call them and claim that they are geniuses, like Iron Man. And Deepseek reveals all of that to be a lie, right? These people have not been good at actually producing anything of value, right? They pound for pound, all their companies, OpenAI, Grok, Meta, you name it, right? They are producing categorically, empirically, just like provably worse. Everybody knows this. This is why people are leaving to go to Xiaohongshu, going to the Chinese Red Note rather than be on the Facebook and the Instagram, right? Even before like Xiaohongshu was opened up, people were not going to Instagram and Facebook. And since TikTok has been reopened, it's been highly altered and semi it's like being hybridized into Facebook, Instagram. It's unclear exactly how much, but it's not the same TikTok. The algorithm has changed. You can't say free PALESTINE just like on this platform without being called like anti-Semitic or something. And so people didn't like the algorithm. I mean, they didn't like the algorithm that was just serving up content. It's so repetitive. It gives you wrong stuff. You can't post to Instagram. Everything's kind of half broken, right? But these platforms, these huge tech companies supposedly they're worth like billions and increasing billions and billions of dollars every year. But the quality is going down. I mean, people talk about this as enshittification and et cetera, et cetera. Enshittification is just normal capitalist, unchecked plutocratic capitalist operation being normal, which is to say terrible. And so Deepseek is like, well, I mean, the Chinese are like, well, we could do everything you're doing for like 1/100th the price. It's like the Chinese, everyone discovered, right, this last week. The Chinese have food, housing, healthcare, world-class cities, world-class transportation, They have like 100,000 synchronized drone swarm dances. They're like living in the Star Trek utopia, and America is like in a near fallout dystopian hellhole, right? Comparatively, so-called greatest country in the earth. But the AI is the same way. I mean, like we can have world-class AI, and it's all you can have everything you need for cheaper. Even though Americans on paper make about 1.5 to 2 times as much as the Chinese, like 30,000. I've calculated it out, and you can go look this up. It's about 30. It's approximately 30 something, 33,000, 35, 30 to 35,000 average Chinese salary. American salary is like 52 approximately. Median salaries. So the Americans make almost 1.8, almost 2 times as much as the Chinese. Everything in China is 7, 8, or 10 or 20 times cheaper. It's as simple as that, right? So if you buy the food is like 6, 7, 8, or 10 times cheaper, except for milk. There's a lot of lactose intolerant, and they don't have a history of drinking a lot of it, so that's part of why. But like, everything is cheaper. Healthcare is like 5 to 10, or in some cases like 100 times cheaper. The ambulances are not paid for, right? The housing in China is like I forget the average. I just recently looked that up, but it's like $50 to $200 rent. Americans pay $1,500, $2,000, $4,000 rents regularly, especially in the cities where most people live. 66+% of America lives in cities. Anyway, long story short, so everything is just, and also the things are higher quality in China, just in general, because of socialism with Chinese characteristics, unlike U.S., which is infinite capitalist dystopia. And so in the AI, it's the same way. The AI, you can produce better AI for less money. In the same way the Chinese can produce better, high quality food, high quality vegetables and fruits. You can't even access, fresh fruits and vegetables in a lot of US. They can produce high quality food for less money, right? Because everything isn't being made only for profit. Like everything. If you produce things, if you go on Xiaohongshu, people realize this too. The moderation is strict, and there's actually a communist party that actually is involved. They have a posse inserted into the tech programming and IT departments inside of, and all departments, finance, in every company, and they make sure that everything is moderated appropriately, right? They don't let this slop go everywhere, scams go everywhere. Like when I posted a lot to the Xiaohongshu site, and like everything, like they review everything. Like I have some stuff that I posted and it was not accepted, and that's fine, because it's like it wasn't quite the appropriate thing to post for a variety of reasons. Part of it's like this, like a language thing, and because most of the users there, it's hard dealing with this. There's some cultural and language things that are like missed in translation. Even with the translator, some things don't quite translate. Quick sidebar. I just want to point this out. I do have a Xiaohongshu account you can follow. In case the Western social media all is destroyed. Even if not, I recommend everybody go there. Every American is, as I said last week, right? I made that video where I said, if you strike me down, I will become more Chinese and if you try to ban TikTok because the U.S. empire is trying to stop the Communist Party of China, right? Then what was that video? If you try to strike me down, I will become more Chinese and communist than you can possibly imagine, right? And that's basically what has happened, is that millions of Americans are becoming more communist and more Chinese than the U.S. Or anyone else could have imagined. It's basically the end for the United States capitalist system. Not immediately, but strike me down, I shall become more Chinese and well, I said I'll become more Chinese because I didn't want to get this thing taken down. But basically, this is what has happened. And I posted a bunch of posts, as you can see. The Chinese are actually very interested to learn about what is happening in the U.S. And in the world. They didn't know a lot. Actually, in China, a lot of people are told that America is the greatest place in the world, and everyone makes 2 million, 1.5 million a year. They spend half the year on vacation. Life is the best in the whole world. And a lot of that's human traffickers that are operating out of coastal cities and moving young people in, and then treating them horribly and exploiting them in the U.S. America is the most equal. There's zero racism ever in America. So there's more like the people that are NED US funded operations trying to propagandize and warp minds in China. Obviously, the Communist Party of China has a 90+% approval rating. So everyone doesn't all, everyone isn't like, we all have to become American capitalists now, and but there's a long history of this Western propaganda that they've had to deal with. And so some Chinese do believe certain things about America, and they're some of them are like they question whether America is as bad, right? Do people actually have to pay thousands of dollars to ride an ambulance? Are there actually children in student lunch debt? Is there a prison? Is the prisons actually that full? There's just millions of people in prison, right? Is it true that people, actually go bankrupt because of medical bills? Because it doesn't really happen generally in China. Like, is it true that some Americans can't afford food? It's like that seems impossible, right? It's like in China, it's like affording food is like breathing. It's just like, why would you not afford food? Because all the food is like super cheap and affordable, right? So anyway, so what was the point I was trying to get at? So I recommend it. Just a quick side note: you go grab a Xiaohongshu or Little Red Note or Little Red Book, whatever they want to call it, or XHS. Okay. Anyways, let's move on. So what was the point I was trying to make? But yeah, so part of my point was that the kind of you can get is more varied. Now, Xiaohongshu is not TikTok. It's not Chinese TikTok. Chinese TikTok is Douyin, basically. It's closer to like Reddit, Pinterest, Instagram. But like it's still got a lot of it's a social media platform, and it does have like the algorithm is better. It's definitely more diverse. There's more content, and it makes sure that the same people, like, because they have human communist moderators or human communist party members that are making sure there's many rules that have to be enforced. The West has no rules. It's whatever the richest person wants, basically. There's no rules. Whatever Elon wants, you got to do, right? In his company, whatever the richest person, oligarch, corporation, shareholders want, you do that, right? In China, they have the Communist Party exerts the will of the people. So, for example, like, one of the tech rules is for young people, children, there needs to be science, tech, engineering, history, culture. We need videos of people painting, learning about your your history of your province that you're from. Kids need educational content, and like that is enforced, right? So the Communist Party comes in to the tech companies, Weibo, Douyin, and they make sure, and they have 9 out of 10, 1 out of 9 people in China is a member of the Communist Party. So just give you an idea. Every family has at least one Communist Party member, basically, probably more than one. Not in the household, but like if you add the cousins and the aunts and such, it's just like it is the people, basically. They come into the tech company and they say, is this algorithm feeding 5, 6, 12-year-olds educational content for most of the time, or at least half the time, whatever it is? Are these children allowed to just like scroll through inappropriate content, like just really crappy, trashy SpongeBob crap? Is that because it's not all they're going to get? And if they can do that for infinite amounts of time, that's not going to be good for them. And the Communist Party will make sure that is inserted. Is this content going to cause hate between people? That cannot be allowed, right? The United States, Facebook, all these tech companies, they've caused like mass death from extremist activity through Facebook. That's part of why Facebook and Twitter don't operate in China, because they caused in areas in South and West China ethnic hatreds it caused literal killings. It caused not just it caused racism, internal ethnic strife, and then literal people dying. And because Facebook is part of the U.S. empire, methods of mass manipulation, Operation Color Revolution, destabilization, etc., etc. They reserve that stuff. Americans don't even realize how bad it is, right? Central South America, India, they all suffer this manipulation. And so So the Communist Party has to make sure that none of that is happening. There's disinformation that comes through this, right? I mean, that's why people were on TikTok, because it wasn't fully U.S. owned. Right? It was not even Chinese owned, actually, because it's 60% Japanese and American owned, but it wasn't fully U.S. owned, and it wasn't headquartered in the U.S. Right? But U.S. had some control over that, what was on TikTok. And then so people went to Xiaohongshu and they realized what a full Chinese app is, full Chinese control is like, and it's even better than TikTok in terms of like actually allowing. And I talked about last time how what everything has moderation, right? Everything has moderation. There's nothing that is there is no sorry, I'm trying to find my there is no platform that has no moderation on it. There's no space that doesn't have rules, right? But just what are the rules? Are the rules, right? Are the rules talk about racist, fascist, talk about capitalism is awesome as much as you want, right? Do wealth worship. But if you say free PALSTINE, then you get banned. And if you start talking about the truth about America's history too seriously, about colonialism and especially the present and their imperialist activities and what they're doing in Ukraine, if you talk too honestly, will you get algorithmically pushed down? Sometimes you have. I've had a video about Africa and Gaddafi deleted off of this platform, this one, because it was probably there was like a blanket sweep of anything that was like supporting African decolonization, like today in a real way. It was a video about Libya and Gaddafi. The U.S. deleted it off this platform, supposedly on violent content, but it was up for 10 years. It was only when in the last 6-8 months or so there's been a huge upswing in the AES, African Liberation in Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, etc. The AES. And there was this like blanket sweep. Tony Blinken came out and said Africa Stream, which is just legitimate, real African authentic voices, as opposed to U.S. paid local oligarchs that are puppeted by the U.S. empire to steal all of Africa's resources under neocolonialism. And so they didn't like Africa Stream because Africa Stream was like countering that narrative. And so the United States tried to silence that on all platforms, get their financial PayPal and financial accounts removed. Jeff Sachs actually was an American economist that was operated at high levels in the U.S. empire for a long time. Actually had to come out and kind of, it was not just Africa Stream, there's many other accounts. There's like Scott Ritter, Empire Files. I can't remember. There's so many. Anyone that was saying anything really honest about what the U.S. is politically, economically, in terms of its military, in terms of its imperial designs, was getting whacked. They're getting, that's the U.S. Western, oligarchic, imperial rules, right? When you break those rules, everybody knows when you break those rules. That's why you can't even talk normally, right? If you say certain words on this platform, any platform, right? It's anti-Semitic to say FREEPALESTINE on TikTok now. Because why? Because the U.S. has altered, right, the rules, the moderation parameters of TikTok. At least U.S. TikTok. If it's not fully U.S. owned by Mark Zuckerberg or some confluence of billionaires and corporations headquartered in the United States, whatever it is, everybody knows it's altered. But in Real Red Book, in Red Note, in the Chinese platform, you can say whatever you want. I mean, you can say you can't say whatever you want. Nowhere you can say whatever you want. That was my point last week. But when you go on to Little Red Note, you can say FREEPALESTINE and you have to spell it out. And not be called anti-Semitic. My friend was on Twitter and he said, like, when I started to say something against these DIONISTs, Twitter would just like pretend like it couldn't load my post. Like, we were running out of resources. We can't load your post for like days, right? I mean, it's a way that the West can pretend like it doesn't, like it has full free speech when it doesn't. Right, this isn't the way they do this. The indigenous people trying to stop pipelines. They're supposed to get mysteriously nobody can see them. Right, shadow banned. Like many videos I make, everyone would be like, Silver Spook, I didn't get notified that I'm subscribed. I'm like, ring the bell, but I didn't get notified that you went live or that you made a video. I don't know right? And so those are ways that the West can pretend like there's free anything. Nothing is ever, there's no free any speech ever, right? There's always, just by choosing what you are going to post, who are you going to reshare, you're somewhat helping amplify certain voices and not others. But definitely when you are talking about like actually removing posts, right? That's absolutely censorship. Everywhere, everything has censorship. Just what are you going to censor and what are you going to not? And like I said, I know I talked about this a lot last week, so I'm probably retreading that water. But I just want to update that because because part of the Deepseek, just coming back to the Deepseek, the houses are for living and not for making money is a way of like stopping some activity. It's a kind of economic, not censorship, but it is an economic denial of permission, right? So like Deepseek, similar to the speech, right? You cannot just come and say ethnic hatred. You cannot promote fascist speech because if you tolerate intolerance, it will create intolerance. So we will not give you permission to do that. And if you don't like that, well, this is why we don't do that. And if you don't like that, well, too bad, or go to America where they allow you to say fascist stuff and be fascists and Sig Heil, right? Like Elon, and not just the whole West is just, full of this kind of stuff. They back global far right extremists everywhere, through Facebook and other places. So if you really want to participate in that, you can't be. These are our rules. This is what we accept. This is what we don't accept, right? Whenever you enter a Discord, right? Whenever you enter a corporation, you know what TOS is, right? That is their rules, and they're secret rules that they don't even put there. Every space, no matter what it is, public, corporate, government, it always has those rules, and what is permitted. And so, like, for another example, right? So the reason why DeepSeek succeeded is because the economic rules. One of them, under the Communist Party of China, is a plenary session. In the last 2 years, one of their key rules is houses are for living and not for making money. Why do they do that? Because housing was becoming a bit too expensive. People were complaining. There were big investment entities like Evergrande that was making a lot of money for private individuals, but it wasn't benefiting the masses of the Chinese people very much, who were finding it more difficult to. It was becoming slightly American. It was becoming a bit Western. It was becoming kind of Euroid in China, or too much. And so they said, we need to stop that. It needs to become more. We need to have houses for living in. People should not be charging $2 million for houses when people can't find houses, right? And people should not be, using houses as money-making schemes. They should not be used to make money, right? What are houses used for in the United States? What are houses used for in Australia, Canada, Europe, the collective West? What is real estate for, right? It's not for living in. There's 80% unoccupied apartments in Vancouver, in Hawaii, 90%. In Honolulu, nobody is even using like huge swaths of the apartment, giant skyscrapers full of these penthouses. They've got beautiful living spaces. They got all this space. They're empty. You can tell because the lights are off. Why is that? Because those are literally not for living in. They are just investment vehicles for billionaires and giant corporations to plant money in concrete, steel, and glass bank vaults, right? Called real estate, called houses, called apartments. But the Chinese said that's not acceptable. If you make apartment buildings in Shanghai, if you make houses in Hubei, if you make buildings, you cannot simply make buildings and then use them, right, to generate more wealth for yourself while people need housing to live in. And that was the rule. And they enforced that by making it so that 50%, there was huge taxes on second, third, fourth. You couldn't basically do landlordism because it was the tax and that you have to pay was so high after the house that you live in. Right? You could have a big house, even a mansion as a rich person. But if you had 1,000 houses, if you had like 10,000 apartments and you were collecting rent, right? What is BlackRock? What is Blackstone in the US, right? What is Bill Gates? What is all billionaires? They all own. Basically, all of them own or co-invested in some kind of wealth management entity that owns land for them and rents that for them, right? All of them, every Elon, everybody. So, but if you're doing that in China, basically that's why the West, when the Economist, the Financial Times were screeching, right, a couple of years ago, the year in the last year, and it started about 2 years ago. They were screeching about China is collapsing, but what they're worried about was they couldn't make money, making money overcharging people, regular people, for housing and for rent, and trying to asset flip and or flip houses, flip apartments through their entities there like Evergrande, and through and just buying up real estate in China is not acceptable anymore. And that did so the Chinese GDP went down, but the quality of life went up. The GDP, stock market, this is nonsense. These are irrelevant numbers ultimately. Not relevant to, they're not completely irrelevant, but they're not relevant to the quality of life and actual prosperity and what matters, right? Which is the people in the world that are living, right? Not like how many numbers are in a spreadsheet somewhere in a Cayman bank account, right? That's what the West cares about, right? This is unhinged, inhuman dystopianness. That's why I make games like Neofeud. But anyway, let's come back to Deepseek, because I'm kind of off the topic. So in the same way that houses are not for living in, they're for making. So houses are for living in, not for making money, was one of the rules, right? Another rule was stated is that finance. We have too much. There's actually shows about this, and Holly watches some of them. There's too many. We need less finance. We need to de-emphasize finance, high finance, and like working for big banks, working for big hedge funds, working for big corporations, working on Wall Street trading, or like just working in the stock market, trying to invest money to make more money based upon how much money you already have. Right? We need less people doing that. Too many people are trying to go to Shanghai, go to Beijing, and make a lot in the stock market. There's one movie. It's called Meet Yourself. You can watch it. It's like a TV show, and the main character is an investor. He's like a professional. He was like trained in the business school, and he's like investing money to make money in stocks in Beijing. And he's like, this is maybe not the best thing to be doing. How is this going to help the world? And so he tries to go and develop the more rural, less developed parts of his home province that he's from. Like not in the big cities, but in like in a smaller villages where he's from. And but uses the skills that he knows, right? So like building a business and then using money from that to then invest in a new one, like so building a shop, building some agricultural business, and using the revenue from that to then build up a local store, get people, artists and artisans, supporting their ancient intangible cultural heritage in their particular region of China, and then trying to get those people are good at social media, right? So you get a social media presence, and then to build a tourism business, right? Which then increases the wealth to this. The unevenly developed, so the Beijing and Shanghai and Hong Kong, extremely developed. There's a lot of wealth there. There's a lot of business there. There's a lot of money there, right? Very high tech. They have like 5G. They've got high speed rail. They've got self-driving cars. They got everything. They got like drone delivery. They got robots and holograms on every building. Robot holograms on the building, and then sometimes robots that are like delivering food and various things. So it's like they're like super developed. But then you have like lower, less developed areas in the provinces. Now, extreme poverty was already alleviated, but they're still working on more even development. So you don't have people that are only just doing, some amount of farming and not much else in their area, in the more inland areas, right? So that show is about how you can use like these skills about creatively and like using these are what is actually it's kind of like the Deepseek. What is the there that is actually there? What, like, there is not zero value to AI, and there isn't like zero value to like business skills, because trying to think of like how a lot of it is people stuff, a lot of it is like it's a whole lot of things, right? It's like it's kind of science fiction, or it's like something doesn't exist here, but what could exist here? Like, we have land here, We have this person who likes to play music. We have it rains a lot here. This is very fertile. What could be there, right? And that's what. So that is like the actual value add of people who have skills in business ventures, is that they might be able to help hook people up who weren't hooked up before. Imagine, a lot of it's imagining, like what could we do here? What if we had Theo visiting this area, and then you play music, and we'll make this food, and these are the things that we'll need to. It's like it's a lot of confluence of a lot of things. It's not really like, it's not, it takes a whole confluence of different abilities and ways of thinking, and it's not really like something that's really set in stone, like being good at quote unquote business. But there is something that can be added, but it's not beneficial, right, to have businesses that are already established. Well, it's not beneficial to have a capitalist who has pre-existing money, right, making money based upon the money that he already has. That's not adding anything. That's a parasitic aspect of capitalist business arrangements, right? Or business is kind of like AI, right? It's like such a murky term, but it's like you need people who are creative and thinking about ventures, and a lot of that's just like social skills, right? And communication skills, right? And it's kind of like lumped in under the business, but there is value to people who are able to lead projects, right? Help coordinate projects, whatever, of every kind, steward projects. That's like a more indigenous word. That's what we think about it, right? Steward the Kalo Farm, steward the Silver Spoon Cooperative. I'm not the CEO of the Silver Spoon Cooperative, but like I have to think of what we're gonna do, like for games specifically. Like there is no game where there's a Native Hawaiian perspective, anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, cyberpunk dystopia that directly calls out the Clintons, the Bushes, the whole system, and it overlays, Euro-Western feudalism, its colonialism, and its capitalism in a cyberpunk dystopia together. And that's my game, Neofeud, right? So like, I gotta do my plug here because I'm also the marketing. I am the business. I mean, I understand that because I have to run the Silver Spoon business, at least the games area. So I do make a game called Neofeud, which is on Steam. It is also on sale. Look at that. It's on sale right now. You can go and get it. That's business, is being able to plug your stuff. So I totally get that. I didn't know a lot of these skills until I started having to run my own small business using Chinese social media, Xiaohongshu, to promote it. Actually, I haven't done that yet, but I have to figure out how to promote as well. But long story short, Neofeud is a game that's about cyber social worker, a ex-con robot, and an ex-trillionaire princess trying to overthrow oligarchic imperial neo-feudalism, which is when they don't pretend like there are people that are hereditarily, eugenically better than others who deserve all the wealth in the world in some kind of like a Galtian sense. And anyways, that's Neofeud. But like having to imagine what this doesn't exist. What if there was some indie game company that actually directly assaults the empire in video games, rather than like dancing around it. And also talks about the police, the prison, and military-industrial complex, mass child removal of indigenous and ethnic minorities through the child protective services and other things like that. Neofeud deals with all of that. So, anyways, but that's all. That takes like imagination. It is work because you have to like creatively. You have to think about it. You have to think and mull things over, and then try to put together a plan and a business plan, and then carry that out. Like, where am I gonna put the Neofeud? What marketing? Like, that's a lot of work, right? But, and so right, and so in China. But this is another thing about the Chinese system. It's a very like socialism with Chinese characteristics. One of them is like the meritocratic nature of it, which is that like, and they're very like, they're very strong on like not cheating, honor, like everybody's rewarded for the work that they do, right? The concept of A levels, SAT, standardized testing, that was taken from China. The Gaokao is a multi-millennia old system that the Europeans the British, they call them A levels, right? They call them these standardized, these universal tests, but these were actually, they never had anything like that in the West. These were borrowed from China, and that's a culture. Is part of a culture of really examining, especially under the Communist Party in the 21st century post Mao. What exactly are you doing, and are you is another way to think about it is anti-corruption, right? Like making sure they root out corruption. That's very important right now, right? Making sure that people are not getting away with cheating, right? Having a lot of money, like Elon Musk, right? The way the West portrays its capitalists is that these people, Elon is worth $400 billion because his brain is so strong. It's just so productive, right? In China, this is not be acceptable. I mean, there are people who get very rich, but they have to make sure that they have to watch themselves. They have to not step out of line. And if they try to corrupt the government, which they do, they will often get death sentences, or they will lose what they have. That's what really matters. They will be taken down, and they will lose a business. They'll be ashamed, and sometimes they'll just end up being janitors. Usually they will accept the 2-year reprieve, right, for their corruption and their ill misdeeds, right? But you know, there's a system that checks the wealth. I was recently interacting with somebody from Shanghai on Xiaohongshu, and I said, what did I say? I said, somebody said, let me see, I'll find it right now. They said, they said, tell me something. They said, tell me something that is, can Americans share some good things about USA? So there's a Chinese person asking on the Xiaohongshu Little Red Book, what is some good things about USA? And I said, oh, for some reason this got 64 likes. The person asking was from Beijing, right? Because many Americans are saying, oh my God, I freaking hate the fact that, you know, healthcare is exorbitantly expensive. Oh my God, I hate that. You know, I work 4 jobs, and I can barely exist. I'm trying to go to college, and I have to drop out. Right? I hate America. And so, what is good? And so I said, well, you know what's one good thing is the U.S. is the number 1 place in the world. The U.S. is the number 1 place in the world. If you're a white, get my head off of there. I said the U.S. is the number 1 place in the world if you're a white man in 1965 or a multimillionaire in 2025. And you know, because I was telling Holly, it was like, I mean, America was the best place. Like there was a New Deal, and it was very good if you're a white man specifically. If you're black, it's not so great. There's a lot of racism, Jim Crow. Economic situation was far worse than the white man. If you're a woman, you didn't have a lot of rights. You were basically you were financially basically nearly property. You couldn't have a bank account, and you had to marry a man to be a straight white woman and be his, you know, do what he said. You were, there's misogyny, and was very strong. Economically, it wasn't that bad if you married that white man. And if you're a white guy, you had most of the rest of the world. Europe was destroyed. Asia, a lot of it was blown up. World War II had happened. Everyone was in ashes except the United States, right? And so there was a huge amount of suffering around the world. And U.S. established a new system and was loaning everyone else money and making money from that, making money selling its own products to itself. It had a military industrial complex that was established during World War II, continued to be rolled into more domestic products, and then the socialist communist, more equal nature. There's 90% tax rates on corporations and the rich. The CEOs the average CEO is making about 30 times what the workers were making, which is way better than now. It's 3 to 600. I forget. It's off the charts how much they're making. This Elon makes like 2 million times more than his workers, just as an example. So the inequality is way less. And there was racism and there was sexism, but if you're a white man, that was the best time. The Chinese, it was the worst time. It was one of the worst times. The Chinese were the poorest. Now they had a revolution, but they were China was the fifth poorest country in the world. It's poorer than almost every African country. Right? It was extremely poor. It was extreme drug use, opium, because of opium wars and the history of the narco trafficking. 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3 people was addicted to narcotics. Everyone was basic subsistence, education, everything. Health was abysmal. Life expectancies in the doldrums. And today, in white Americans are doing very well. Now it's the opposite. And if you're American today, like Vivek Ramaswamy, he's not white, but he's a billionaire. So if you're a billionaire in America, America is the best place. And you don't even have to necessarily be white. It's better if you're a white man, but it's, right? If you're a millionaire, billionaire, America will take any kind. They'll take Rabia Kadir, they'll take Jimmy Lai, they'll take Steve Jobs was his family. He immigrated, and his family wasn't he Syrian, if I'm not mistaken. But many of them, there's billionaires of all kinds, and it's the best place because if things cost a lot of money, that doesn't matter to you. If food costs, if it costs $1,000 a month or $500 a month for your food, that doesn't matter if you make $500 a minute, right? If you're Elon and you drop $100 bill and it wastes the time to pick it up, you don't care about the healthcare costs, right? And you can get some of the most advanced technology for exorbitant costs as a rich person in America. And so America is the best place in the world for millionaires and billionaires, right? And and everyone else, life is horrible. It's America is neo-feudalism. America is neo-feud. It's great if you're the king in the king's palace, in the king's court. If you're a peasant, a pauper, a slave, and worse if you're in the global far reaches in the Africa, Asia, Latin America, then it's not good for you. So, but yeah, a lot of Chinese don't realize that. A lot of Chinese, especially the ones that are like younger, they haven't gone abroad and seen. Even sometimes if you go abroad and you only see the wealthy sections of cities, which is where the tourist districts are, there's still a lot of propaganda. There's so much propaganda in the world, propagated by imperial capitalists. They're very good at lying. They're not very good at anything else, but the West, the imperial capitalist U.S.-led world, is very good at lying. They're very good at Hollywood, disinforming people, right? And so a lot of I spent a lot of time talking to, in the last week, I spent like hours talking to many Chinese on various topics. Oh my God, it's so white. I thought Hawaiians would all be rich because you have so much tourism there. I mean, we have a lot of tourism, yes. I know tourism helps Xinjiang. I know tourism helps less developed regions of China in the farm areas. I know that that show, Beat Yourself, is about. Let me see if I can get it on the screen. That's what this show is about. Meet Yourself is about how Chinese there's a lot of horses out there. It's not Yellowstone, but in this Meet Yourself show, there's like all these there's a very rural area, right? And so then and they don't have a lot of development. They haven't got all the technology. They haven't got all the high quality, high speed rail yet. They haven't gotten a lot of the modern amenities yet. They don't have extreme poverty, right? They have food, they have the water, they have some electricity, right? I think, but they want to have more business, so there's more opportunities for people there. So tourism helps to build as they build the tourism up, right? So they have visit Yunnan because we have, look at this festival we have, look at this wood carving we have. You can find that on the social media, right? If you don't have social media, if you don't have marketing, if you don't have like TV ads or some kind of way to get your word out, and the TikTok and the Douyin and apps like that is a big way, and influencers go around to all 56 different regions of China. And it's not just about going around to different 56 regions because for fun. I mean, it is, but it's also so that when the Chinese from Shanghai and Beijing, they go to these less developed regions for the new tourism that they just established, that helps to increase the revenue and the business in those regions, right? Xinjiang gets, Urumqi is a major city in China. If you want to learn about Uyghurs, go on to Red Note and ask and find some real ones. Like Lucifer with an S. One of many. You learn the actual truth. Um, um, but like Urumqi is actually one of the most visited places in the world. It's Xinjiang. 200 million people go there every year, right? And that benefits them. Like this is the area they have Muslims. Did you know that actually Uyghur is not the largest, or it's like Uyghur is the way that you kind of say it, I think. But if you say in English, Lucifer Lucifer is here, this guy. No, I cannot find it. No. Okay, I'm not. Google is not gonna let me find it. They're only gonna give me Adrian Zenz. Never mind. But did you know actually that's the Hui region? The Hui people is actually the largest Muslim ethnic minority. It's not the Uyghur ethnic minority. There's two separate ones. Anyways, but in the part of the way that they dealt with the extremism caused by Facebook and Western social media platforms. That's why Facebook and Twitter are not banned from China. They refuse to follow the rules about limiting the spread of hatred and things like that in China. Those are the Communist Party of China and their government has rules about what kind of posts you can put up, and the Facebook and Twitter don't want to abide by those rules, right? The difference actually, TikTok actually was abiding by the U.S.'s rules, but U.S. just wanted total ownership. That's actually one of the major differences. The U.S. did threaten a complete ban, right? Whereas in China, because one thing they'll say is, well, China banned Facebook and Twitter and Western apps and YouTube, right? So U.S. gets to ban TikTok or something. And it's like, at the end of the day, the U.S. wants to get rid of, TikTok, U.S., But the thing is, it would be too embarrassing to admit that the U.S. doesn't have any good rules that it enforces, right? Because the U.S. doesn't want to enforce any real rules on Facebook and Twitter and all these others, right? Whereas in China, it's like they have rules that all the platforms have to follow. Do not allow posts that will incentivize people to extreme supremacist, right, ethno-nationalist, extremist ideologies. Do not encourage this kind of extreme violence in people because it literally hurts people. People died in Myanmar shortly after Facebook was outlawed in China. Right across the border, huge numbers of people died because of information. In the West, they don't talk about this, but because of the information and the kind of extreme hateful posts that were spread, people died in Myanmar. People were killed based upon, again, arbitrary differences, right? So, anyway, so, yeah. So the reason why you cannot use TikTok and Facebook inside of China is because they don't follow the rules, not because the country has banned it for some arbitrary reason, right? Because China didn't say, America, you have to sell Facebook to China, or we ban Facebook, right? China didn't say, America, Elon Musk, you have to sell Twitter to China, or we were going to ban Twitter or X or whatever, right? They didn't say, America, you have to sell whatever to us, or we're going to ban it, right? They said you must follow rules. That they're reasonable rules. The reasonable rules, I think. I mean, I guess if in the imperial U.S. and the West, if you don't do whatever the richest white man says, that's unreasonable, basically. Including Africans, give us all your gold, or you're unreasonable. And all your coltan and copper. Including South America, give us all your lithium, or you're unreasonable, right? For free while you starve, right? China, be subservient to us and be our giant sweatshop factory, but never try to actually develop yourself. If you don't do what we say from DC and Wall Street, you're unreasonable, right? Anyway, that's a kind of an aside. So in Xinjiang, they needed to they used the development, right? So increasing tourism to Xinjiang, right? So the people, because in Xinjiang you have lots of like really cool architecture. There's all kind of interesting, very different food, right? Because they have like milk tea. They have like these special kind of kebabs. They have like tandoori. It's kind of almost like Indian cooking. style of like flatbread pressed against the inside of a clay oven. That's not as common in other parts of China. There's all these unique like lemongrass milk bubble soup. There's all kind of interesting food they have. There's completely different all the history, culture. There's mosques everywhere to visit, but not just that. There's Kazakh people. There's Hui. There's Kazakh, Hui, Uyghur, and Han. But there's many other peoples there. It's one of the gateways to the ancient Silk Roads. Actually, the gateway is Urumqi City right there. That was the exit point for the Silk Road, exit/entrance point. And so, like, so tourism helped to develop their economic situation. Part of the radicalization, there was an extremist problem, right? The United States has admitted, I've talked about this a lot on other streams, so I won't belabor it too much, but the U.S. has used far-right extremists and using the CIA and using U.S. intelligence and U.S. imperial actors. They would send money and training into areas, right? And then they're also using Facebook and social media platforms. They will send posts and algorithmically push certain social media feeds full of certain kinds of separatist, extremists, like East Turkestan Islamic movement. There's a lot of same people that are operating in Syria, these extremists there. Right? The U.S. have pushed those ideologies, but those ideologies and these extremist these extremist groups cannot really get running without poverty and like suffering in the people in that area. As people get desperate, they're more susceptible, right, to these far right ideologies pushed either directly through CIA Western training or through social media, which is ultimately CIA training, NED, et cetera, without some kind of it makes it easier to get away with that stuff. And so one of the ways, so getting rid of Facebook and Twitter limited the social media posts that were radicalizing people in a bad way. Having like some amount of re-education in the sense of like you have to learn that you have to treat other people equally, and you're part of, you're one of many different religions, you're one of many different ethnic groups. It's not acceptable to simply kill people because you disagree with the kind of Muslim they're practicing. That's one of the things they actually, the extremists would behead imams and such because they were not practicing the correct interpretation of the Quran and this kind of U.S. completely manufactured warped version. I talked about that in a previous stream, I think. But anyway, long story short, so like that was alleviating the poverty, stopping the kind of like de-radicalizing people that are believing very wrong things, and cutting off the social media, right? All that together is actually how they dealt with that problem, right? And the tourism brought people from the wealthier cities on the east, because the richest cities in China are on the east end of the country is there's a lot of reasons, but that's where some of the most developed are, right? So bringing them into Central and West China, that helped to increase the economic activity. People's lives were getting better, quicker, and that meant like, wow, why am I going to go pick up a gun or a machete or drive a car into people? Why am I going to want to go do this, radical far right, thing when my life and my society is very good, right? It's kind of like what's happening to America. Americans are going, oh my gosh, I want to figure out how these Chinese are doing that. I kind of hate my country now, right? It's like, so like leading by an example, like having an existing successful civilization is like the way of dealing with many of these problems. That's like the number one way the Chinese try to deal with a lot of these things. It's like, bring people over with very strong carrots. Like obviously, if you're going to try to attack them, they have to defend themselves, but they prefer to lead by an example. Be like, this is what you want to join. And if you join us, right, this is the Belt and Road Initiative, SCO, and the BRICS is like, if you join us, like things can be very good for you, right? Like BRICS, the U.S., the Western model is we go into every country, we blow you up, we crush you, overthrow you, we wreck your country, go to Iraq, Afghanistan, enslave you. You do exactly what we say, period, right? And if you don't do what we say, you simply will. If you don't do exactly what we say from the top of the plantation, right, you're an unreasonable slave. That's basically the Western way. And the Chinese is like, well, if you would like to join our win-win cooperative Silk Road, then you can. We won't make you. You can't come and attack us, right? But we won't go into your country, meddle in your country, and make you join us. But it's in your interest. It's just like very, that's like, it's a very different approach. There's no military base. They don't have any military bases in other people's countries. China. They don't have any. They're not doing any coups overthrowing the entire countries. Individual companies in China have like done questionable things, but then the Communist Party is what they will generally happen is that they will step in and usually if they are notified of it, they'll crack down on that company if they stop doing that. There's specifically in Greece, Yanis Varoufakis has a story about that where a Chinese corporation, which they do have people that are seeking wealth in them. That's one of the trade-offs of their market system, but then a Communist Party and socialist country is that sometimes you have the individuals inside of these businesses have these ideas that there is corruption. They have to crack down on it. Anyway, so long story short, I'm gonna get way out in the weeds. Developing the smaller countries, developing the smaller, less developed areas internally, using tourism benefited the peoples in all of their less developed areas. In Hawaii, I was talking to many of Chinese. What I was getting to was in Hawaii, yes, there's a lot of tourism, but because it's not the socialism with Chinese characteristics. There's no Communist Party to check the billionaires in Hawaii and check Mark Zuckerberg, who owns 1,200 plus acres in Hawaii, right? He's wasting all of our water, right? Literally, he's using it to grow macadamia nuts, to feed Wagyu beef that takes twice as much water, to sell at luxury prices that Hawaiians can't even afford. Mark Zuckerberg is in Hawaii, literally doing that. He owns an entire freshwater reservoir. Nobody is checking Mark Zuckerberg in Hawaii. In China, they check Mark Zuckerberg. He can't even run his Facebook there, right? He can't. Mark Zuckerberg can't buy 1,200 acres of Hubei province. Mark Zuckerberg can't buy 10,000 apartments in Shanghai or Beijing and make infinite money, right? But in Hawaii, he can. Why can't he do that in Hawaii or any other millionaire? Because the United States completely corrupt, plutocratic. That's oligarchy. That's by the rich for the rich. The government works for the rich. 99.5% of all policy of the United States government is determined by what has the most money pushed towards it. I've gone over that in several streams. The Gillis and Page study by Princeton scientists proves that. If you could anybody knows that just by looking at how their government performs, what it does for the rich, and not for the masses, right? So there's nobody to enforce. Nobody is there to make sure that the revenue, because the Chinese were asking me, so as a native Hawaiian person, like the Guangdong are people from all over the place. They were like, so like how Hawaii is such a rich it's a mega tourist destination. Tourist destinations in China, everyone is doing so well. They're very wealthy. It's so great. That's what they've been doing. That's part of the major platform of their poverty alleviation, right? And they're building the wealth of all of their people. Building not just the wealth of just, when you hear wealth, people think of, the Great Gatsby and Bill Gates or something, or people living in a mansion, or Iron Man in his Malibu palatial, giant mega resort house, right? When they say wealth, what they mean is every family, every person, life getting better, their food, having more food, having better housing, having better everything, affording to go on vacations, affording the doctor, having a nice vehicle or high quality transportation, right? That when they say wealth, that's what they, but I mean, that's because in China the wealth is much more evenly distributed, not perfect, but much better. And they're like, isn't everybody in Hawaii wealthy? Everyone should be doing very well. I'm like, no, because the housing because everything is meant for the rich and everything is exorbitantly priced. As bad as it is in the U.S., it's like $2,000 rent in the U.S. In Hawaii, is $4,000 rent, or $8,000 if you're in Maui. $8,000 average rent after the Lahaina fire. The food, it costs 50% more to the United States. Housing is twice or more as any American city relative to the pay, certainly. And, we got homeless everywhere. I said I was working full-time while homeless in Hawaii. And the Chinese are like, oh my God, it's unbelievable. Like, how is that possible? Like, they're like, this, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I'm like, well, Nobody reins the landlords in. I mean, and then the Chinese eventually like, oh my God, you need like revolution. You need like revolution inside of America, and it's like all Americans are like, well, no one, we can't talk about that too much on this stream probably, but I mean, it's basically like they had one. That's why they had a communist revolution, and the government was altered so that the policies and everything that happens. And if somebody charges, if the average rent in China goes up to 50-70% of people's salary, the Communist Party steps in and it makes a policy. Somehow, they will ensure that does not continue to happen, right? For example, by taxing all second, third, and fourth houses at 50%. And then guess what? Housing prices goes back down. I wish that if America had a Communist Party, they could just tax Mark Zuckerberg and all landowners in Hawaii 50% after the first house. All the Airbnbs, all the mega hotels, all the empty, 200 unit, 500 unit skyscrapers, all empty. They'd all be filled up, and the price would all be down to like $500, $300, just like it is in China and Shanghai, which with better quality skyscrapers for cheaper price to rent your 2-bedroom, right? You can rent a 2-bedroom in Shanghai, even in Shanghai, maybe not everywhere, but in Shanghai, you can rent a 2-bedroom apartment for the cost of like a freaking closet studio next to a math lab above the highway in Honolulu, or Vancouver, right? But that's because the Chinese even said that, like, oh my God, the prices you're talking about, those are like the prices for like a tiny 1-bedroom in the ghetto is like the price for like a nice 3-bedroom in many of our cities. I looked it up. Shanghai price is about 1.1 to 1.3 million. It's slightly higher than Honolulu, the Shanghai price, but that's like in the city, like there's areas outside the main part of the Shanghai city that you can easily afford. But Maui is actually more than Shanghai. Maui is 1.5 million. Anyway, Beijing is 600,000. Beijing was the house price. In Beijing is cheaper. Beijing is like a huge, mega, amazing city. By the way, it's, you can spend your whole life. Holly said you can spend your whole life and not even get into all of Beijing. It's a huge, it's the capital of the world's most advanced civilization. But Beijing is cheaper than Honolulu. And like I said, when I paid rent, when I told people in Beijing and Shanghai what I was paying in Hawaii, they were like their jaw hit the floor and they were like, "Oh my God, America is a dystopian hellhole. What the hell is happening over there?" Or first they're like, "I can't believe it. It's like watching Neo coming out of the Matrix, like again and again with the Chinese, like, oh my God, I can't believe America is such a dystopian hell. No, this can't be true. It can't be true. They said America is full of daffodils and like eagles flying in the air and everyone's in Disneyland. Everyone, literally, this Chinese person said, I heard Americans go to spend 6 months going to Disneyland and traveling the world. The average American is like going to Paris every other week. I'm like, what the? And it's like not all of them, but some of them, they have this. It's all this propaganda. It's like a lot of this like old propaganda when America was a great place for white men, And it's still, if you are a billionaire, America is a great place because you are the king. You're the neo-feudal king, right? If you're in America, in any time, but especially now, right? Even more so now, because if you're a billionaire in America in 1950, there was still some strong communism, socialism. You would get taxed very high. But America today, you're the king of the universe, right? You can own a president, and you can be like Sig Heiling while literally buying the president of the most powerful country in the world, of superpower, and just be like Nazi saluting all over the place, and everybody just has to put up with it, right? America it's a playground. It's like what Hawaii was in the early 20th century. Hawaii was the playground for the rich. Now all of the United States, its entire empire, is just a playground for those people, right? They just do whatever they want. I'm gonna name the government efficiency department now. It's called Doge. I'm gonna call myself Techno King. I see Elon calling it, right? So if you're a Chinese wealthy person and you're like, I don't like this communism so much, I wish I could have even more money for myself, right? I mean, it's great. It's great to come to America and then rule the world, right? I mean, it's horrible for everyone. in the long run, it's not very good. It's immoral. It's gross. It's destroying the climate. It's destroying societies. It's ruining everything. But I mean, man, isn't it great? It's so great to be in America. If you're really, really freaking rich, it's great to be in Hawaii. If you're a billionaire, Hawaii is amazing. That's why Mark Zuckerberg lives here, because of U.S. occupation, right? Being in Hawaii is like being in America, but with way better tropical weather and better beaches. That's why all billionaires come to Hawaii. Larry Ellison, right, owns Lanai, because it's like America, but without as much tent city. Well, actually, I take that back. There's tent cities everywhere, but yeah, it's like America, but you also get to have your tropical getaway island. That's why they come to Hawaii, right? That's why they all set up shop in Hawaii. Anyway, that is not related to Deepseek at all. I know I'm way off my topic. I completely blew my topic today. I'm sorry. Let me come back to Deepseek and get off of this. I'm just I'm discombobulated because my computer freaked out at me earlier. It seems the stream hasn't gone down, right? The stream hasn't had any problems. Oh, okay. I think the my computer really freaked me out earlier, so I think I'm like all flustered. I'm like the crying OpenAI. Okay, let me come back to Deepseek and actually say something about them. OpenAI, Grok, and Meta. I like the OpenAI, Grok, and Meta executives and boss people that are really sad right now because they are losing money. They're ruined. I mean, the good news is that these neo-feudal techno kings, right, that we depend on the giant bubble in AI, in the West, in capitalism in general, in the U.S., in U.S. tech dominance, in U.S. corporations, by extension, the U.S. bubble. There's a huge mega bubble in the U.S. It's collective value overall. It's corporations, especially the big techs, but not exclusively. There's real estate. Everything is overpriced. Everything is overvalued, from real estate to college educations to, the cost of the valuation of all their car companies, industrial, entities of all kinds. The value of their tech companies, like the military industrial complex, is just a shamble. They can't produce anything, but everything is overvalued. There's a huge bubble. The stock bubble is mega bubble. That is basically there was a bubble in the 0809 on the housing crisis, and it's just been continued on. And so it's been a zombie banking system, zombie corporations, zombie economy, just propped up by infinite money printing and hype and hot air. That's why they need Elon. Elon is necessary. It's not. Elon seems like, oh, what a stupid clown. They need Elon because Elon represents. Elon is the TED Talk. Like, Elon is the marketing. I know he's really bad, because he's really laughable, but like, he is. There's hope in the United States leading the future because Elon is Iron Man, and Iron Man is a genius, white capitalist billionaire philanthropist man who will save the world as long as we keep investing in the U.S., keep investing in U.S. tech companies, keep investing in Wall Street, keep coming to America and trying to make it, quote unquote, make the American dream in America, right? But what's happening with Deepseek is going, I think that is, it's a giant popping of that American dream, that is really the American nightmare lie, and so that's why this is really, it's really going to be very sad for all those companies because they have Deepseek that is outperforming them, massively. Let's go more into those details because I spent a lot of time not talking about those details. Let's see. Yeah, so ByteDance. The other thing is there's another one. ByteDance just dropped another model. ByteDance Duobao 1.5 Pro matches GPT-4 benchmarks at 50x cheaper. 0.02 cached input tokens, 0.11 input tokens. So anyway, basically what it means is that they can do what the Chinese ByteDance, right, AI is 50 times more efficient than the GPT ChatGPT Western AI. Also, another thing, DeepSeek is deep efficient and deep based on politics. If you ask DeepSeek AI for analysis on the GENOCIDE and PALESTINE using neutral terms so as not to preemptively tip it, instead of tossing its hands up and calling it delicate and complicated, right? It goes straight into, it actually describes the history of where, right? I can't really talk about it, right? But DeepSeek, if you ask ChatGPT, if you ask Western AIs about ISR AEL, it's gonna give you, well, they have the right to defend themselves. Blah, 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 they're simply doing what is necessary. Anyone who attacks them deserves to be. Everyone who attacks them is in the wrong immediately, and basically denies all this history. I've asked ChatGPT 2 years ago even about Hawaii. It's all imperial U.S. lies. All Western AIs is just I made a whole stream about how artificial intelligence requires human intelligence, right? And Western colonial capitalist culture has none. It's full of lies and half truths, and so the output is a reflection of the inputs, which is Western disinfo and racism and etc. And so China actually can have the AI reflects AI doesn't necessarily reflect any specific individual's thoughts, but it reflects generally what the society deems as norms, and it's understood there isn't anything that's a norm per se, and everything does have multiple perspectives to it, but the society is based in truth. China doesn't have a incentive to lie about the last 500 years of the greatest evils in human history, colonialism, right? So they do look at history in there's no perfect way to look at it, but it's not absolutely riddled with lies, and historically and continuing to maintain an unjust system of current neocolonialism, right? Current imperialism, right? So the China AI is actually going to be more accurate in that sense, and better functioning. And also the AI is similar to the thing, right? It's similar to the thing I was saying. Every space has rules. It has censorship. It has moderation of some kind, right? Every AI has a view, right? It has to have, when you ask it the question, it's going to give you a view. The Western AIs pretend there are many good opinions on both sides. That's the liberal thing. But the liberal side is a side that says everyone has some good opinions on both sides. And the main thing is that you all keep working for me on the global plantation, and I'll keep you divided and conquered, just like the Romans did and like the British did, and like Americans do, to stop people from coming together against the ruling class, right? So they always say there's both, but when you really dig into ChatGPT, Grok, Meta AI, all these, right, or any of the chat AIs, what their actual views are, it's always State Department basically. And then they kind of try to shield that. This is how this is how West actually works. Oh, we have very vibrant debates, within the limited Overton window, so we can say it's free, right? Oh, we have very democratic country between two flavors of horrible. Right, that's not really democracy. That's that's a coloring book game. There's a saying in China: the most unfree enslaved peoples are those who believe in their own freedom, or those who believe. The most unfree slaves are those who believe that they are free. Right? If you know you're enslaved, you're already more free. Right? If you know that you are being oppressed and controlled, then you're at least, right? It's kind of you acknowledge that you have a problem, right? But in the West, most people don't even know that they're not free, so they're even further away from liberation. This is the paradox of like why the West and U.S. always talks about it's the most freest place, the most freest place. We're so free, we're so very free, right? If people Americans even know it, they call it freedom with a DUMB because they know that is part of the reality. But anyway, long story short, Deepseek doesn't. Deepseek takes a side, and the side is in line with history, in line with international law, in line with morality, and it says you need to stop doing mass supremacist apartheid, and the oppressed in the Middle East have the right to armed struggle. It is actually enshrined in international law. The U.S. don't follow that; they just pretend like it doesn't exist, right? And we just keep sending weapons and bombs to unalive innocent children forever. Donald Trump just signed like a 2,000. He removed Biden's limitation on sending 2,000-pound bombs to where. What do we do? Make and ship better products with less money. Oh wait, you can't because you're run by billionaire oligarchs who have no idea what they're doing other than printing money for themselves based on fraudulent hype. Yeah, it is 25x cheaper. So DeepSeek is 25x cheaper than OpenAI's. Blows out OpenAI's across our eval suite. The price DeepSeek owned API is just 55 cents to $2.19 for input output, significantly cheaper than not just O1 but O1 Mini. Served by DeepSeek at 71. Anyways, we don't need to know all that. But one of the things is that you can actually run the DeepSeek on a phone, right? So the computing power is like 3% or less. So what that means is that you can actually, what it would take like server racks to run, you can run on your phone and do the same thing with the DeepSeek because it's just far more efficient. Like this is actually a recent article. Even The Economist is just having to figure out what is even happening to them. What is that the U.S. is just losing. Yeah, the Western investors are all worried, extremely worried, right, as they should be. This is actually DeepSeek culture. Giving credit to the team and the CEO is invisible. Exact opposite to some. Like this is actually really matters. Huawei, one of the most successful tech companies in the world, it functions as a worker cooperative, right? Which is similar to how we function. Obviously, they're way bigger than us. Silver Spoon Games. This is actually a Hawaiian and Chinese, and it's very Asian and Pacific way of operating, which is to say, everybody works together, right? Everybody works together on projects because you need multiple people to build a rock wall, plant a field, or to make a artificial intelligence large language model, or to develop a new phone. You might need 100,000 people to do that. But the way that the work should be structured, worker cooperative is another word. It approximates what the word hui means, which is a Chinese and Hawaiian word. And it basically means a similar thing. If people work together, right? But when people come to work together on a project, the work that they do, everyone should benefit from the work as they need, as according to their needs, right? People who succeed at working on the project should be given the proper credit. People should be applauded. People should be celebrated. It should be known that those people are very talented at that work, whether that's programming, whether that's making art, right? People should know, right? But the people who work on that project, they shouldn't necessarily make exorbitant amounts of money because of that, right? There's two things happening there. One of them is the people that do the work, right, should own the means of the production, right? And the people that benefit should be all of the workers, right? Monetarily and in terms of their notoriety or their credit, right? It should not just be one rich person who didn't actually contribute to the development of that product very much or at all, but simply had pre-existing wealth to invest into that project, right? That's a Western capitalist mode of operating conducting large multi-human projects. Let's put it that way. And so you have that's already unjust. And so that's not the way that that's not the historical way in which we operated usually in the Asia and Pacific region. It's certainly not under socialism with Chinese characteristics or socialism with Hawaiian characteristics. And the other thing is that all of the people that are coming together to do the work on the project, they should also choose what kind of project they should do. They should have input directly into how that project is going to go. So it shouldn't be, just as an example, like if this was Meta, right? This is Mark's. Why is Meta crying? Why is OpenAI and Sam Altman crying right now? Why are they a bunch of losers that are going to be their stocks and their valuations are in huge jeopardy? Like if if a small Chinese team can do in 2 months for $5 million, what is taking you billions and $10 and $50 billion to do, and you can't even get it done. You got these huge teams, thousands of people for a year. You can't beat a handful of you can't beat like 100 people and $5 million in 2 months with 1,000 people and billions of dollars. What are we giving you money for? Well, we're giving you money so that we can pocket it, just like the military, industrial, everything else, right? So we can give you free money that you stick in your pocket with a corporate buyback and pretend like AI is solving the world's problems when all it's doing is, stealing all the water and electricity from California and Texas and burning everything and making crap and making people stupid and just wasting cycles, wasting semiconductors. But the reason why, and so that's one of the reasons why they were successful at Deepseek is because the actual talented, qualified engineers, right, the quants who have skill at artificial intelligence programming, some of that from tech, and they were like, don't use it to make money for Wall Streeters. Don't use it to increase capitalists' inequality. Use the tech to make a better reasoning model, actually, because the thing is that the Deepseek focuses on like actually making better engineering. Like it's like solves algebra. I watched like how it actually solves algebraic equations, and you can actually see, and it's open, meaning it's open source. It's actually open. OpenAI is actually closed now, right? It's the paradox. OpenAI is actually closed, but the Chinese Deepseek, the Western capitalist U.S. OpenAI doesn't allow anyone to see the source code, whereas the Chinese, the socialist AI with Chinese characteristics is actually open. You can see the model. They give it for free. I've seen people running it on like a refrigerator. You can run Deepseek on like a Galaxy phone, right? You can have it do everything that needs to do. So what that says is actually like a lot of the problems with the energy and the climate, like if the average Google search that adds Google's AI to that multiplies your carbon footprint, the electrosmog of each Google search by a factor of 10. The Deepseek actually is 20 times less, I think it's approximately 20 times less energy use to run Deepseek, right? So like it actually makes a lot of the costs, because it's so efficient, it doesn't need to churn through as much processing, right? It doesn't have to run electricity moving zeros and ones through quantum theory based electron positive negative switching, all that activity that has to happen in order to do one AI output is so inefficient. That's part of why it's people are saying just for the environmental problem, and there's many problems. It uses Kenyan slavery, there's plagiarism software for stealing and credit stealing and all these kind of things. And there's many, and it's just destroying human knowledge because it's stopping people from actually practicing their math and reading and learning, and they're using it in schools and colleges, and this is just catastrophic. I mean, all those things are, those are all big questions, right? But there are uses for AI, not necessarily, and even probably even some of the generative AI, but they all have to be carefully regulated, right? And one of the ways that is regulated is in China. They have very strict regulations. Like if you use AI, you cannot use AI to write your schoolwork. You cannot use AI to do college papers. You actually will get your PhD or your master's or your bachelor's degree revoked. It's gone, right? So nobody is, they're very, and they actually, again, it's rooting out corruption, enforcing the rules that actually benefit the people. You have to have rules that benefit the people. You have to have a system of putting people in the position of being in the referee, the governing positions, who are proven trustworthy. That's part of what the Chinese system is almost very, very difficult to corrupt because, or any kind of long extreme way, or it's much harder. Let's say that it's not never happened, but it's much harder, especially under the communist system. It's harder to do that on a large scale relative to the United States. No, they're not. The system's not perfect. They do have corruption. You have to weed out, but it takes you a long time to move up, and it's very hard to move up. And if you make one misstep, like every single person that was in Wuhan, because they were just a little bit too slow to react in the beginning of COVID, they were all sacked. They lost their jobs. Every single one of those officials in the Wuhan area, right? In the United States, right? The mayor of LA still has her job. What did she do? Right before the LA fires? Defund the fire department, take millions of dollars from fire departments and give it to the police. How was hey LA, how has the response been in the ongoing greatest mass fire tragedy in history of the United States? How's it been? Has it been good? No. Are the government officials of LA and the mayor, the local officials, the county, is Gavin Newsom, right? Is anybody going to lose their job? Or are they going to get promoted? Because actually the rich don't care what happens. And LA did exactly what the rich want. Not what's good for you, but it's good for the United States oligarchy, right? To have more cops and burn all your houses down so they can build a resort on it, right? Just like Nero did at the end of his collapsing Roman capitalist oligarchic hellhole. So, but that's because you don't have any enforcement, right? You don't have any enforcement, then you can't keep. You don't have any system to put people in charge in your spaces that are actual, moral, trustworthy, reliable people who get called out and removed when it is appropriate. You don't have, and you don't have the rules in place. There is no regulation on AI in the U.S. It's just whatever Elon and Mark Zuckerberg fucking want, right? This neo-feudalism. This is whatever it's a chaotic mess of whatever the handful of the richest entities want. Even sometimes they fight each other. But ultimately, it's some version of what billionaire-funded Democrats and billionaire-funded Republicans are working for the billionaires to chaotically try to achieving ultimately nothing but their own self-destruction. But so, because you have the rules being enforced, right? And like for example, we need less Wall Street investment, high-tech people. Then they moved into working on AI. Right. One of the things is, and another thing was, we need the best people. Well, another thing is, we need people that are actually working here that are actually qualified people. We don't want this to be run, right? We don't want a handful of billionaires. Like what did Meta say? Meta said the reason why what's happened at Meta is that we're scrambling to catch up because we have a bunch of overpaid executives and business tech bros, leaders, making more money. They make more money as a salary than the entire cost. One Meta, not even Mark Zuckerberg, one Meta AI business guy, one Meta AI business leader who doesn't actually even know how the semiconductors and the neural nets and large language models work. They're making like $10-20 million, right? To do what? To bloviate and spit hot air about how AI is going to save the world. And the entire team in China, cost less than the pay of one useless oxygen thief clownarch. Clownarch just means like, rich capitalist idiots who run everything. so then all the people's input mattered. This is one of the reasons why Elon's Cybertrucks and his products are bad, right? Because Elon, the clown oligarch on the top, Elon said, I want untreated steel on my Cybertruck. And everyone's like, no. The qualified experts in their field are like, that's a terrible idea because your Cybertruck's going to rust out in less than a year. And Elon said, no, right? What I say goes, because it's plutocracy, it's capitalist oligarchy. And then everybody has to kiss the ring of Elon and put untreated steel on the trucks. And everybody's like, this is stupid, this is horrible. And then guess what? You have a horrible Cybertruck product. In the Chinese company, right? It's like all the engineers give input and they all listen to each other, and the people that are like often running the companies, right? Well, it's like, it's shared credit. A lot of them are cooperatives. Like Huawei is run as a cooperative. People that are actual engineers and actually merited in their field are taken seriously and listened to in the field that they know about. And some of them, like if you are a marketing specialist, if you're a marketing specialist at Deepseek, you might not be the best in programming, right? But the programmer will listen to you about how are we going to try to promote this, right? And whereas Elon is just like, okay, everybody get out there and, like, I don't know, do whatever I say when I say it, right? We're all going to make the X, jump up and make your hands in like an X symbol or whatever, right? So so anyway, so all that together means that, so a cooperative structure, or Hui structure, means that you're going to have a better product. I mean, you provably have a better product. You're going to have less waste. You're going to have less corruption because you don't have the capitalist class that's just like trying to make profit, doing nothing. You don't have all of the immorality of and the economic injustice of the labor theft that is inevitable in a capitalist system, because the rich don't deserve to run anything. And the value they take is then used to propagandize everyone else that they are worth the billions that they aren't. But anyway, that's more about how did Deepseek do this? They simply did, and many engineers have said the way that the Chinese Deepseek team has outperformed all Western mega corporations, despite being $5 million and a handful of people, is because they were simply a highly skilled team of people who were allowed to just work together without the corrupt, inefficient capitalist structure. Or they didn't have they might make money from this still, but they didn't have the kind of bloated corporate oligarchy structure of a Meta or a OpenAI or a Elon company, right? They were just they were just engineering, making their decisions without that. And also they're pushed. One thing was they only had 10,000 GPUs. It's like a small amount of GPUs because U.S. banned export to China of these AI specific processors, right? These AI specific GPUs, NVIDIA makes, and so they had to work with less, and so that pushed them to get more creative and get more innovative, and then and that's another reason why they can't. That's not reason why, but that's one of necessity is the mother of invention, and that's one of the ways that they did this. Is I've actually looked at how they do the training, and it's like they basically, like, instead of just throwing gigantic mountains of data inexpertly, it's how the U.S. does wars, right? Just throw $1 trillion of bombs anywhere in Afghanistan and Iraq and Yemen. Who cares? I don't care. Just the more the better. Make it F-35. Spend $1 gajillion on that, because 1% of 10% of gajillion is better than 10% of a billion, which is better than 10% of a million. That's the way the West thinks. It's like just push more of that, because I don't care what kind of product we're making. It doesn't matter what kind of product we're making. All that matters is money got printed and money came into my bank account. Right? That's the way the housing crisis happened. Right? Sell because $1 trillion worth of overpriced mansions in Florida and California is better than $5 billion of mansions. So just keep on making loans, subprime loans. But that's basically how the West operates, right? It only works if you can beat up, lie, cheat, steal, kill, and imperialize everyone else. if that breaks down, then it doesn't work anymore. So anyway, let's finish this up. It's already 2. So the AI model despite sanctions, I already went to that. Sam Altman, the God King, says we must change the social contract. The entire structure of society will be up for debate. That's either neo-feudal transhumanist eugenics operating eugenics. Return of Kings mentions Mobug creeps. Look up Tess Creel and the Timnit Gebru book that talks about these people. This is another why Sam Altman runs OpenAI. This is another reason why these people need to go down the tubes. So thanks Chinese Deepseek programmers for that. Every single leader of a GenAI org is making more than what it costs. That's one more thing is that every single leader of the GenAI org is making more than what it costs to train Deepseek. So I bookmarked a bunch of these all at once about Deepseek. I'm trying to get all of them if I can, but that's probably it. Okay. But yeah, anyways, so that's kind of like the main gist of it. I know I didn't really cover everything I wanted to cover on it, but that's okay. I didn't get a lot of sleep and then my computer freaked out. But yeah, so there are a lot of Techbro Tears. There's a lot of copium out there. I would encourage anybody. I mean, it's like Meta's gonna get worse. OpenAI is gonna get. Meta's gonna get worse. Twitter's gonna get worse. I think it screwed my computer up. So thanks for that. Good job, Elon. Thanks for making your technology worse. It's gonna get more censorious in a bad way. It's gonna keep on censoring anything that makes the world a better place and keeps their unjust system in place. So I recommend anybody get the Red Note or Xiaohongshu, among other things. Like there's still a lot. Like there's not really there's not really a lot of there's still a lot. It's still difficult to. It's still a lot to be learned, but there's a lot of actual global village communication happening. Like Xi Jinping recently said, like there's a global village There's a global village, and Americans. Let's not call them refugees. Let's not call them TikTok refugees. Let's call them villagers of a new global village in the digital space. Because it's slightly it's not fair to the real world refugees. But also it's like that is definitely part of what is happening now. If you haven't yet, I would recommend anybody at least just go on the Red Book. You can get it. You gotta go on your phone. You gotta sign up on your phone, get it on your phone, and just check it out. There's a lot of very interesting things happening there. If for some reason you haven't yet, there's a lot of very important things happening there. Really, it's a lot of direct people-to-people exchange, debunking so much imperial capitalist propaganda, xenophobia, just nonsense. It's just rapidly being debunked there. It still is. Some people have gone back to TikTok, but not everybody. And as many people have pointed out, like the U.S. is learning that everything that the U.S. has said about itself and China is wrong, and the Chinese people are learning everything that their communist government has said about China and the U.S. is true, and that they've been even some of them have been lied to by some of their more liberal people inside their own countries and from around the world, and so there's a lot of important education happening there. And the last thing I'll say is just on the AI, because I've talked about how AI is such a problem, and I will reiterate that, like, if we have AI that is actually, or if we have large language models and what they call these because there are many different kinds of ways to do AI. There's just like basic AI that is used to handle the behavior of like a doom enemy. That's technically AI. There's AI, artificial intelligence of some kind. There's an AI that is used to assist with autopiloting and automatic driving, right? That's a kind of AI. It's all lumped under AI, but it's the way it's functioning is different from something like ChatGPT or Deepseek, right? The large language model setup, right, is another kind of AI, but it is not the same as human thinking. Like that's a common, because some people say, oh, this AI is alive now. This AI is becoming human or something. There's still a lot of differences there, right? It does pattern recognition. It does mimicry. It's still doing pattern mimicry and solving next word or next token prediction. Like that's still the way, right? They talk about like you can do X quantity of tokens at X cost, because it's still, that is the design of it. That's not, humans aren't trained how to be human, right? By inputting huge quantities of tokens and data into humans' mind. That's not how humans learn to think, right? But that's still like largely like what is happening inside of these models. And so they're useful because they can do work like a calculator, right? Some people thought calculators were AI at one point, and some people would still call a calculator AI because it does math way faster than any human, right? A calculator can calculate in a millionth of the time it'll take a human, a complicated multiplication problem. But you don't say, well, my calculator is now, because a calculator can do, a 9-digit number times a 9-digit number in 1 millionth the time of a human. You wouldn't say the calculator is a million times more alive, or a million times more sentient, or a million times more conscious, or whatever as a human. So that's where it gets. But it would seem like if you showed it to somebody in the 1500s, a calculator, and you showed what it could do, like they might freak out and go, oh my god, it's a living god, this amazing machine that can outperform every possible person in our entire village, or in an entire kingdom or something. But like there's a lot, because humans, it's just such a tricky thing. People don't really understand exactly what's happening, but for the people who do understand what is happening inside of the large language models and these systems, if they are appropriately regulated and used in ways that benefit people, they can do great things. Like part of the way that China has actually cured diabetes, deafness. I can't even keep track of all of these. There's like Alzheimer's, several of these extremely horrible maladies and diseases have recently been cured, in part because these kinds of these kinds of AIs help to rapidly sort through a lot of that data and find solutions that would take humans a lot longer to do and to arrive at. Things like maximizing food production. Like you can get 80 times more food out of a small space in these this AI assisted vertical farms that grow huge amounts of food in a small space by maximizing the temperature, water, pH, and all these other factors in these farms. But it would be extremely intensive, human work intensive to do that with humans. But the AIs can do that because of just because of the way that they operate. In the same way that like to do complex machine, robots that build semiconductors, right? Or to manufacture computer chips, right? A human couldn't go there and like place transistors onto a computer chip. You need these very advanced, very high-tech, and they have automated procedures inside of them to rapidly make and fabricate all these computer chips and all the processes to go into that. So actually, you could say like those are kind of like the large language model AIs, right? In the sense that they rapid, like a calculator, they can rapidly do a lot of work that a human cannot do in a short amount of time, in a very efficient way. And if you want to do certain things, you kind of need them for those, right? But an AI isn't doing thinking and feeling and all those things. That's where like generative AI, that's basically just like displacing artists to make very costly energy and semiconductor and water costly, just making what you would look like a Spider-Man, and it uses so much electricity in a way that also dislocates artists, right? Like those are like negative. That credit stealing, creative work, human soul kind of displacing, and also human brain displacing. Because you could, if you use a calculator to do all your adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, and you never learn how to do that yourself, that it could be very bad for your mind and your education, right, later on, right? Even though later on, right, when you get to high school, you can use calculators, graphing calculators when you're doing algebra, because you're not learning those basics, right? It's like, right, but if you so using generative AI to do the thinking for you, to read the book for you, the people think that these like those are like, again, those are like, you're using the AI, but that in the long run is going to have a net negative effect. And again, those are not accepted in China. In the United States, a lot of places, the states are just because it's oligarchy, completely unregulated, completely chaotic oligarchy rule. Oligarchy says push more AI, government insist on the public schools and the universities use as much AI as possible in math, reading, history, science class. Make everybody use it everywhere, in the workplace, everywhere. Everybody using it all the time, right? They don't care about the future education of the children. What they care about is selling more computer chips and making more money for themselves, right? And the government, including the Department of Education, and everyone works for that billionaire class, right? Whereas in China, they're like, no. We're not doing that in school, right? We're not. The U.S. has even accused China of feeding their children digital broccoli through their social media, and China is feeding young American children digital fentanyl. But it's America. America's oligarchy is choosing to feed fentanyl to its own children because it doesn't care about them. It just wants to make money. I don't know, advertising more coke, sending AI generated sludge. But it's not the Chinese, again, it's like the TikTok. It's like, right. The Chinese didn't choose. The Chinese didn't set the U.S. laws for the tech companies. The U.S. tech companies, right, are the ones that are taking your data, doing questionable things with it, and the U.S. government aids and abets it. But they're always accused. China could take your data and do this and that, or China is doing this and that. China is giving our bad content to us, blah, 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 blah. The U.S. government that is controlled by its rich is choosing to do all of those things to itself, or the U.S. rich, which are the U.S. government, are choosing to do all these horrible things to all the American people. And, it's sad. It's very sad. The end. I'm so like discombobulated at this very moment. I should probably stop. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. This is the Silver Spook video on AI generation, or it was. And this is the Silver Spook video game that was not AI generated. It was made by me, although it does deal with sentient machines and robots and AI. It's called Neofeud, and it is on sale right now. And it is 70% off, so don't forget to run and skip and jump down to the Steam store and grab it if you like games that are... if you like science fiction, dystopian games that have cyborg social workers and John Connor lookalikes, hippie Terminators, and all kind of funny hijinks, but also deal with the real questions and problems that we struggle with today, including massive runaway inequality, eugenics obsessed, tech bro, techno kings running everything, and more. You can get Neofeud on the Steam store. And also, if you have a second to leave even a very short review, if you like the game, don't forget to do that because it helps to get the game discovered in the Steam algorithm. Also, of course, you can get Neofeud on itch.io for Windows and for Mac and for Linux. You can also get Decolonators, which is a game about kicking capitalist colonizer butts out of your country in a video game called Decolonators. And of course, you can also get Indigestar and Pigeon with Gun and Woman is a book by Holly, who was raised in right-wing evangelical Christianity that critiques that world from the perspective of Mary in the Bible. And you can also get Neofeud. You can also follow us at mastodon.social, at silverspookgames.mastodon.social, and or at silverspookgames at wandering.shop. As I pointed out earlier, you can also follow on the Xiaohong at the Xiaohongshu on the Xiaohongshu app, or also known as Red Note or Little Red Book. It is Silver Spook with the Chinese characters that mean Hawaii. I don't know. I think it's just, if you type Silver Spook Hawaii, you might be able to get it. If not, here is the account number. And yeah, do follow there because I'm gonna try to repost. I'm interacting a lot there for sure. And if all the West, all you can say free Palestine, and you won't get called anti-Semitic and removed, unlike TikTok, and you won't get shadow banned, unlike on this platform. Also, you can follow on Twitter though. While we still have access to the Death Star satellites, this is nice because I can say I have Life Star and Death Star satellites now. While we still have access to the Empire's Death Star satellites, you can follow at SilverSpook Guy on Twitter, and you can also follow SilverSpook Games minus the Ian Silver. And we're also on the Blue Sky, which is the second the ex Death Star commander Jack Dorsey making a branch off called Blue Sky. You can also follow at Allergic to Blue Holly Argent over there. Holly's a partner here at Silver Spook Cooperative, and of course, also you can follow. Thanks everybody on the list for your ongoing support. Without your support, it's hard for us to keep doing this work. Thank you for being a Patreon patron. Massively appreciated for all of your backing Patreon patrons. Yeah, and we'll be back later on for the Twitch stream. Sorry, I'm like way past my time. So I gotta